Well, hello my lovelies, it's Murky Meg here. It's Wednesday the 25th of November and you may or may not have heard, but big news has hit the tabloids this morning. Now, Meghan Markle has done a piece in the New York Times where she divulges that her and Harry suffered a miscarriage in July. I'm going to have to be very, very sensitive in this video. It's a heartbreaking thing to go through, and my sincere condolences and love goes out to them, and I'm really quite torn on this one. I really am, and I'm not quite sure what to say. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with the facts, if that's okay. It was released in the very early hours of the morning, 3:13 Eastern time to be precise, in the New York Times. And the article opens up with a very stylized image in sepia tone of a woman that's shaded out, and it says, "Opinion, Meghan the Duchess of Sussex, the losses we share, perhaps the path to healing begins with 3 simple words. Are you okay?" That to me is extremely savvy PR-wise, and I'm sorry, that's the cynic in me, but to draw that comparison with what she said in South Africa, I just think I will come to how I feel a little bit later on, but I was willing to come on here and really kind of bat for her corner until I saw that. But anyway, that's my opinion. But this is how the article reads. You see, I'm struggling with this. I really am. But I'm just going to stick with the facts, if that's all right, and then give you a very brief opinion of how I feel and what the general consensus that's going down online really is. So this is the article. I'm going to read it to you. And this has been written by Meghan herself. It was a July morning that began as ordinary as any other day. Make breakfast, feed the dogs, take vitamins, find the missing sock, pick up the rogue crayon that rolled under the table, throw my hair in a ponytail before getting my son from his crib. After changing his diaper, I felt a sharp cramp. I dropped to the floor with him in my arms, humming a lullaby to keep us both calm. The cheerful tune a stark contrast to my sense that something was not right. I knew, as I clutched my firstborn child, that I was losing my second. Hours later, I lay in a hospital bed, holding my husband's hand. I felt the clamminess of his palm and kissed his knuckles, wet from both our tears. Staring at the cold white walls, my eyes glazed over, I tried to imagine how we'd heal. I recalled a moment last year when Harry and I were finishing up a long tour in South Africa. I was exhausted. I was breastfeeding our infant son, and I was trying to keep a brave face in the very public eye. "Are you okay?" a journalist asked me. I answered him honestly, not knowing that what I would say would resonate with so many new mums and older ones and anybody who had had their own way being slightly suffering. My off-the-cuff reply seemed to give people permission to speak their truth, but it wasn't responding honestly that helped me the most. It was the question itself. "Thank you for asking," I said. "Not many people have asked if I'm okay." Sitting in a hospital bed, watching my husband's heartbreak as he tried to hold the shattered pieces of mine, I realised that the only way to begin to heal is to first ask, "Are you okay?" Are we? This year has brought so many of us to our breaking points. Loss and pain have plagued every one of us in 2020, in moments both fraught and debilitating. We've heard all the stories. A woman starts her day as normal as any other, but then receives a call that she's lost her elderly mother of COVID-19. A man wakes feeling fine, maybe a little sluggish, but nothing out of the ordinary. He tests positive for the coronavirus, and within weeks he, like hundreds of thousands of others, has died. A young woman named Breonna Taylor goes to sleep, just as she's done every night before, but she doesn't live to see the morning because the police raid turns horribly wrong. George Floyd leaves a convenience store not realising he will take his last breath under the weight of someone's knee, and in his final moments call out for his mum. Peaceful protests become violent. Health rapidly shifts to sickness in places where there was once community. There is now division. On top of all this, it seems we no longer agree on what is true. We aren't just fighting over our opinions of facts, we are polarised over whether the fact is, in fact, a fact. We are at odds over whether science is real. We are at odds over whether an election has been won or lost. We are at odds over the value of compromise. That polarisation, coupled with the social isolation required to fight this pandemic, has left us feeling more alone than ever. When I was in my late teens, I sat in the back of a taxi zipping through the busiest and bustle of Manhattan. I looked out the window and saw a woman on her phone in a flood of tears. She was standing on the sidewalk, living out a private moment very publicly. At the time, the city was new to me, and I asked the driver if we could stop to see if the woman needed help. He explained that New Yorkers live out of their personal lives in public spaces. We love in the city. We cry in the street. Our emotions and stories there for everyone to see. I remember him telling me, don't worry, somebody on that corner will ask her if she's okay. Now, all these years later, in isolation and lockdown, grieving the loss of a child, the loss of my country's shared belief in what's true, I think of that woman in New York. What if no one stopped? What if no one saw her suffering? What if no one helped? I wish I could go back and ask my cab driver to pull over. This, I realise, is the danger of siloed living, where moments sad, scary, or sacrosanct are all lived out alone. There is no one stopping to ask, are you okay? Losing a child means carrying an almost unbearable grief, experienced by many but talked about by few. In the pain of our loss, my husband and I discovered that in a room of 100 women, 10 to 20 of them will have suffered from miscarriage. Yet despite the staggering commonality of this pain, the conversation remains taboo, riddled with unwanted shame and perpetuating a cycle of solitary mourning. Some have bravely shared their stories. They have opened the door knowing that when one person speaks the truth, it gives license for us all to do the same. We have learned that when people ask how any of us are doing, and when they really listen to answer with an open heart and mind, the load of grief often becomes lighter for us all. In being invited to share our pain together, we take the first steps towards healing. So this Thanksgiving, as we plan for a holiday unlike any before, many of us separated from our loved ones, alone, sick, scared, divided, and perhaps struggling to find something, anything, to be grateful for, let us commit to asking others, are you okay? As much as we may disagree, as physically distant as we may be, the truth is that we are more connected than ever because of all we have individually and collectively endured this year. We are adjusting to the new normal, where faces are concealed by masks, but it's forcing us to look into each other's eyes, sometimes filled with warmth, other times with tears. For the first time in a long time as human beings, we are really seeing one another. Are we okay? We will be. While I admire her greatly for doing this so publicly, and I have to agree that by being public on this matter, she is of course opening up maybe some people who cannot talk about it to make it feel like they are included, that they matter, that their pain matters, and it may help others that have gone through and are going through a very similar situation, may make their lives that little bit better and to be included in something. The issue that I have is that there are elements of that article that I don't think should have been in there. Why mention George Floyd? Why mention the election? It seems very political when it should have been heartfelt. It was overly flowery and it didn't come across as sincere. I think because she has used that very over-exaggerated flowery style to describe it, it comes off as, like I said, insincere. And I don't mean that in a nasty way. My heart does go out to them. But for two people that have been so obnoxious about privacy, this isn't private. It could have just simply been put out in a statement and maybe just a few words. Maybe this is the way that she learns to cope. And do you know what? Fair play. I've got to understand that. But the element that I have is the politicalness of it. It shouldn't be in there at all. It's the wrong place for it. And looking at the responses online, people aren't buying it, I'm afraid. And that to me is very sad because it could have been a very powerful, moving statement. And I think that's what was intended. But the stylized floweriness has just lost the moment on it. I also have to draw the conclusion of, we know that Harry and Meghan have in the past overshadowed other royal family members' moments with their own news, and they do have form for it. And you've got to think Catherine's got her 5 big questions incentive this week, all of this week, and this drops. And also the fact that poor Lupo has died. They were all over the newspapers a few days ago. The fact that their pet dog has died at the age of 9. And then this drops. It just, the timing doesn't sit right with me. And I think that if they had been communicating with royal aides, then this could have been avoided. But I'm sorry to say that the PRness of it doesn't sit right with me, and I have an internal struggle with this because I want to be sympathetic. This is a terrible thing that they're going through, and my heart really does go out to them, but I just think they've gone about it in completely the wrong way. Whether you agree or not, whether you believe it or not, because some people aren't believing this, they're not buying it, they're saying that it's PR. I don't think it is. I think it genuinely happened. But please don't shoot me down for that. I have a heart. I'm not a monster like the Sugars claim me to be. I do appreciate that this is a deeply moving personal experience, and maybe that this article was a way of helping her heal, and I get that. But the elements of political mentions in it shouldn't be there, should they? So my heart does go out to them. I really, really does. And, you know, I hope that they can move forward. And I hope that I have done this video in a tasteful way, because I'm not going to slate them. I'm just going to say the opinions out there that are being spoken about. I think that's really all I can give to this video. But I will ask you to be respectful in the comments, because 2 people are grieving, and whether we like them or not, you can't take that away from them. They have lost a child, and I think that deserves a little bit of slack, to be perfectly honest. I am well aware of the irony that Meghan herself has caught herself up in so many lies that it may be very difficult to believe this one, but I truly believe that nobody could really lie about this. I don't know whether you've noticed, but I've also added a little fundraiser. I haven't created this. It's just a link if you want to donate to Save the Children. But you don't have to, but I felt that it was needed. As always, I would love to know your thoughts on this video and the outcomes that this may bring. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and also that like button. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers for all the tips and all the emails, DMs that everybody sends to me. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching once again.